Good afternoon and welcome to United TV. My name is Kemal Erkan. Today, we are pleased to welcome back legal expert Jessica Needles. Several recent headlines have raised legal questions that go far beyond the immediate news story. From alleged vandalism at the Lincoln Memorial Reflecting Pool and the injuries involving products sold through Amazon to artificial intelligence posing as a doctor and future genetic data after the company enters bankruptcy. So we will also look into the major Hollywood antitrust battle and the Supreme Court case asking whether the government can seize a $95,000 airplane over the transportation at this of six pack of beer. So Jessica Needles is going to help us to better understand these. And Jessica, welcome back. So this is the first one in the new studio setting. How did you find this so far?
I love the new setup. I'm loving all of the little knickknacks and everything behind us. It's really good, very polished, very professional.
Thank you. Thank you. So, well, with your support and being available to us and other people who are with us on a regular basis, that helps us to invest a little bit more. And I think I have a really good team to keep these things up. So, thank you. Now, today we are going to do a little bit different session than what we had in the past before. So, we are going to go case by case with a couple of the different um, issues that we had in the recent timeline. With one of them is this whole issue of the Lincoln Memorial reflecting pool.
Mm-hmm.
So I believe President Trump loves that pool, and I think everyone should love it, so no problem. But it became a little bit personal. So the former Olympic canoeist has been indicted for allegedly damaging the newly renovated Lincoln Memorial Reflecting Pool. So prosecutors says it's felony destruction of federal property but he says he simply this is the Olympus. So he said that he simply touched the material that already was already loose and peeling. It did not actually damage the pool. So these are, I think, one of the biggest news that we are hearing about this
Mm-hmm.
pool. So now this is, you know, from a misdemeanor to a felony. I think many people are having issues processing and understanding this from the legal side. So help us understand why this is becoming a felony rather than just a misdemeanor.
All right. So I looked up the statute that the DOJ is using, and according to that statute, if they can prove that with malicious intent that this gentleman, Mr. Hearn, damaged the reflecting pool and caused $1,000 or more worth of damage, then that's what's going to rise to make it a felony charge. And in order to have a felony indictment in Washington, D.C., it needs to go before a grand jury. So you go before a grand jury. The grand jury just sort of hears like an overview of
Mhm.
everything, and then the grand jury decides whether or not this is going to move forward and actually have either a bench or a jury trial. So it's past the grand jury. The grand jury like issued an indictment, and now trial has been scheduled. I want to say for September 28th. If that answers your question.
So, I mean, any idea why this poll is so special for President Trump?
Well, okay, first of all, I want to say that I have no problem personally with tax dollars being used to like maintain and upkeep national monuments. So I don't really understand why this has become such a hot button topic and issue. President Trump decided he wanted to renovate the pool. Fine. But then it just sort of became, I don't know, a beast unto itself where it's like, well, we're gonna paint it. We want to make it a certain color. It does appear that President Trump did hire people he was personally connected to renovate the pool, as opposed to having a bunch of bids put in. So I think that's rubbed some people the wrong way.
I think
And
they
then,
spend more than what they should have, right?
right, it was supposed to be like a $1.5 million renovation, and now it's ballooned to a $14 million
Hmm.
renovation. And look, I'm no expert with when it comes to things like how algae grows or anything, but from what I've read, it was just sort of like a perfect storm where you have this dark colored bottom that's going to absorb the sun,
Hmm.
making the water warmer. It's in the summer. They used water, I guess, that was like from the municipal water source, which already probably has some bacteria
Yeah.
and algae in it. And just all together, it kind of made this algae
Yeah, I
explode.
mean, with the pool, things can go really fast. It can go bad. So, but I'm sure this is much bigger in terms of the maintenance. So I think with the real estate type of things, these structures, Trump does have little emotional attachment to them. So now one of the issue with this was defense was saying that these damage that they were talking about, they are being accusing the other side is they're accusing the other side was they didn't have a time they didn't have time to inspect these damages. So when I mean, what happens when the government repairs or changes allegedly crime scene before the defense can actually examine? So is that a problem from the legal side?
Yes, I wouldn't call it a crime scene because,
Well,
well, I guess, I guess he has been charged with a
well,
felony.
felony, right? So it's a crime.
Sure, sure,
Oh,
sure. The scene of a
yeah.
crime. Um, well, first, let's talk maybe a little bit about the pool itself. So it looks like the pool, the paint started peeling up.
Hmm.
And Mr. Hearn is alleging that he put his hands in the pool and touched a portion of this lining that had already come loose and that he didn't do anything else to manipulate it. So that's going to be, I imagine, his defense. After he was arrested after the indictment and everything. The White House started again to repair the pool.
Hmm.
So now we no longer have access to that section that he allegedly manipulated or touched. So now there's no way to prove whether or not he actually damaged it because if there was damage, it's already been fixed.
So, yeah, I mean, you would think that they would take really good pictures and videos, but I think these days, I don't know if that even matters anymore. So, but it just it's really interesting to see something like this to become like a nationwide story, and we are talking about this. So, I mean, I think maybe part of the issue is, at least from a personal side, I can say these symbolic things are being made as like this is how you are showing your love and passion and whatever it is to your country, but it's not. This is just a pull. So if someone did something, it's just fine, but changing the law for one incident is not the best way to run the law part of the
Mhm.
country. So that's, like we have to be able to have a consistent um, uh, understanding of these things, so they cannot just change from one person to the other. So,
Right. But to be fair, the law wasn't changed. This has been the law that it's
but the felony part, right? So from misdemeanor to a felony.
um I'm not sure I understand what
So
you
I think
mean.
they're charging this as a felony, but it's not a felony charge or at the level that it should be.
Well, if they can prove malicious intent and $1,000 worth of damage, they just, by making it a felony charge, they've probably made it more difficult for themselves because now they're going to need to prove all these elements.
Hmm.
So the law that he is
I see.
allegedly breaking not always existed, but it existed before this incident. It's not like
I
they
see.
created a new law for this. I don't know whether he was originally charged with a misdemeanor and then they upped it to a felony, but the law itself, the plain language already existed. They just have to
I see.
show things that I think that they're really going to have a hard time showing. Like, again, the malicious intent. They have to show not only that he damaged it, but he intended to damage it. And then they're going to have to show, again, that $1,000 or more worth of damage, which I think is going to be difficult, if not impossible to do, now that you can no longer see the area that Mr. Hearn allegedly touched.
I have this image in my head. So now they're buying these 10 dog robots like China's using for military. I think we have it too. So like they're patrolling around the pool. Like the dogs are going
Well, they don't
and
need
just
robots because the
going
National
after the
Guard is
people.
there. They actually have, I mean, first of all, there are already cameras there because of where it is in DC. So the cameras have already been there.
Mhm.
They've added, I believe, a brand new camera, and the National Guard is patrolling the
Mhm.
area. Now, I haven't been to the reflecting pool since the renovations, but I've certainly been there before, and I don't recall ever seeing, armed servicemen wandering around watching to see if I've stuck my hand in the pool.
All right, so let's move on to our Amazon topic. So this is an online shopping. Almost everyone, everyone watching this, including myself, I mean, I'm more comfortable with online shopping than in person anymore.
Hmm.
So I definitely don't want to go to any of the stores or any places. If I'm able to order it from Amazon and next morning it will be in the door.
I do not
I think.
order from Amazon. I don't use
Any
Amazon.
specific reason?
Um, I don't like the company. I don't like its practices.
Okay.
I've heard stories about how it does not treat its employees well. However, I'm privileged that I'm able to shop at other stores. I don't need to shop at Amazon. I think that,
Other online stores?
yeah, I'll shop online. I have no problem with that. I just make an effort to not shop on Amazon. I also don't shop at Walmart. There's, I vote with my wallet. There's a lot of places that I don't shop at
I
because I don't
see.
like their
So maybe
policies
this should be another, like we should actually have a session on that.
on
If
why
you
I
are,
don't
if you,
shop at
like,
certain
no,
stores.
because I want to know why. So I can see Walmart because they didn't have like healthcare benefits for many of their workers and they didn't pay them well. Even if they have healthcare benefits, they have like $9,000 deductible. So I know from because we are in the healthcare side and
Hmm.
I can see from the employer level they did not have a really strong healthcare support for their people. They also force a lot of people to go out of business, but you can probably say that for Amazon as well.
Sure.
Um, um, yeah, maybe we should talk about that. So I'll
Okay.
Ethan write it down so let's not forget.
I'll come up with a list of places that I won't
Okay,
shop
so
at, and we can talk
the
about all of them.
Jessica's shopping list preference.
But again, I don't fault people who do shop at Amazon because, like, what if you are you can't leave your house, or what if you
True.
can't afford to shop at a fair trade, eco-friendly store?
So this has nothing to do with his wife, right?
With Jeff Bezos' wife? No.
She's something. So
From what I have gathered, I don't think Amazon, Walmart, and their ilk treat their employees very
I
well.
agree with that. So I don't know how bad Amazon was, but I just heard something yesterday with that. Actually, I'm saying that, but I think Walmart is for sure. That's been out there for a long time. Um, so in this case, in Washington State, the Supreme Court allowed negligence claims against Amazon to move forward after several tragic deaths involving a product that had been sold by a third-party seller. So Amazon doesn't sell everything from their own, so they are the platform for people to other companies and individuals to put their stuff, and then they can still sell, I guess. So that's part of it. So the court didn't say Amazon was liable. It simply said the lawsuit deserves to move forward. So they didn't dismiss, I guess, in this case.
Hmm.
So for us to have a deeper understanding of this, where does the law draws the line in these types of cases?
That's a great question, and it really depends on the jurisdiction. I was the one who suggested that we maybe talk about Amazon
Hmm.
and trying to sue Amazon for when a person is injured by a product that they buy from
Yeah.
its marketplace. I wasn't actually familiar with this particular case until
Mm.
your office sent it to me. It's very interesting. Um, just to kind of give a bird's eye overview of, let's say, product liability. If I buy a product and I'm injured by that product,
Hmm.
depending on which jurisdiction you're in, depending on the various laws, typically you can sue throughout the stream of commerce. So I can sue the maker of the product
Hmm.
that injured me, and I can also, in theory, sue the store where I purchased the product.
Hmm.
Let's say I buy I don't know, some face cream from Target and it causes a terrible rash. I can sue and I can show that the face cream itself was some way defective. I could sue Target theoretically, and I can sue the maker, the manufacturer of the cream.
It's like the malpractice cases when something happens in the hospital, like they include the facility and the doctor and whoever is involved in that case. Is it kind of similar?
It's sort
Almost.
of similar, although we talk specifically about the stream of commerce. If you think of it almost like, well, like a stream, so it starts here, it's manufactured, it's packaged,
Hmm.
it's sent out, it goes to the
Right.
store, the consumer
Hmm.
purchases it. Amazon, um, it doesn't exist as a brick and mortar building. You don't walk into Amazon, it's all online.
Online. Yeah.
So then the issue becomes, can Amazon be held liable for products that it sells from third party sellers? Amazon argues no, because we don't touch the product. We don't see the product. We don't have the opportunity to inspect the product. But my argument would be, if a customer is injured
Hmm.
by a product they buy on Amazon, it's from a third party seller. Say that third party seller is in China, because a lot of these third party sellers are. If I'm injured by that product, I can't sue the Chinese company or manufacturer that made the product. How will I find them? How will I get
Hmm.
them to comply, with the lawsuit? I have no other recourse than to sue Amazon.
I see.
So this is what some jurisdictions are struggling with, and different jurisdictions have ruled differently. Should Amazon be held liable for products that are sold by third-party sellers
Hmm.
when those products injure a customer?
So, would it make sense to have one national standard for online marketplaces uh, instead of each state doing their own? Would that be something better at nationwide?
Um, Well, I think that would be difficult to implement. I mean, when it comes to product liability, that's something that each state has its own laws about. So to make that, I mean, I'm sure there are some federal rules. I know there are federal rules that online marketplaces like Amazon need to comply with. But when it comes to suing Amazon, especially, I mean, if you're going to sue them in state court,
Hmm.
I don't know that you could just have some like blanket federal law that you would rely on. But going back to the original question about this case in particular, so there are some people who purchased this sodium nitrate. I mean, I've heard of it, but I'm not
Hmm.
entirely familiar with it. But they've purchased sodium nitrate with the intention of using it to harm themselves. And the surviving family members are suing Amazon, saying, hey, you knew or reasonably should have known that the reason they were purchasing this product was to cause harm to themselves. I think that will probably be difficult to prove. However, it just went in front of the court because Amazon tried to file a motion to dismiss. All the court has said, like you mentioned, was, we're not throwing it out this stage. We're going to let this lawsuit move forward
Hmm.
and just kind of see what happens, see what you can
I
prove.
guess maybe it's like I have seen this in the last 25 years, 26 years, where uh, when something is new to the court, sometimes even if they believe that it's not gonna be it's not gonna turn into a lawsuit, they do want to hear how these things are happening. I have seen this with the accountable care organizations. So like this is very new, so in
Hmm.
the last 10 years. So it's
Right.
interesting, I guess, from that point that they want to hear, but probably they will make the uh, like I don't think it's gonna move forward. It seems like, but they still wanna go through the findings to see if there's anything that they are maybe missing because it's new to them.
Well, Amazon filed a motion to dismiss for failure to state a claim. So that's a 12B 6 motion.
Hmm.
And it's pretty easy. uh, Let me kind of back up. Again, I'm just giving like the bird's eye view here. If you're going to
Hmm.
file a civil lawsuit, it starts with filing a complaint. And
Mhm.
all the complaint needs to do is state a claim upon which relief can be granted. And that's a very, very low bar.
Mhm.
Um, Amazon filed a motion to dismiss. They're saying, hey, the plaintiffs in this action did not file a claim or did not allege a claim
Mhm.
upon which relief can be granted. And the court looked and they're like, well, no, based on what they wrote in the complaint, there is enough here that you could reasonably find in the plaintiff's favor. All that is to say that it's pretty hard to get a lawsuit thrown out at the very beginning. All you need to do is have like the bare bones, the basic,
Mhm.
somebody did something wrong, it caused me some sort of harm, and the extent of the harm was XYZ.
So now, one of the things that kind of stood out to me, at least, is that this case isn't just about who sold the product. So that's what we are understanding. It's not just who sold it, but it's also about what Amazon may have known and what they could have done to prevent it. So um, I think that's going to be, again, it's going to be a tough case. But what facts you were explaining, from the negligence standpoint, what are the things that court would be looking at in this case? Is it something that easy to, it's like
Mhm.
black and white that we can see, or is it going to be not?
Well, I read the complaint
Mhm.
in this particular case, the sodium nitrate case, and what the plaintiffs are alleging is that Amazon was selling this product. There was nothing in place where you would have to say that you were above a certain age,
Mhm.
and that again, according to the complaint, so allegedly, Amazon was selling this product in conjunction with, for example, a book that kind of explained to people how they could injure themselves using various chemicals. So you know how like when you go on Amazon and you select something like, oh, I want to buy this, and then Amazon is like, well, maybe you would also be interested in
Yes.
that.
So yeah, people
Um,
also buy this.
yes.
Yeah.
So that's one of the allegations, allegedly, is that as this product was being sold, the Amazon platform was suggesting other products
Hmm.
that would assist people in using the sodium nitrate to hurt themselves.
So yeah, Amazon does that. So like recently, I bought something that apparently didn't come with the battery, and I didn't know that until the thing arrived, and then I ordered the battery, but then it didn't also say that this was not the best uh, one, because it's a little fan, like the portable, and because with my heat issues, I need something all the time. So, and then the regular battery only goes for an hour, so you need to buy the bigger one,
Mhm.
and it took like 1 week to complete the whole shopping. So, but it does actually suggest, okay, here are the things that you can also buy, and also sometimes they push their own product first. So like you are looking for something specific, but first to the Amazon choice, I believe, or Amazon bestseller or something like that. So they are actually pushing their own stuff in front of other people, other companies. Jeff needs to pay all those plastic surgery and like ridiculous amount of boob jobs she's getting. So I guess that's one of the
Okay.
reasons.
I have I have no
She's so crazy.
comment.
I swear to you, she's so crazy. Like she couldn't even. I mean, if she was an airbag, she would work perfectly. So like, I don't. And why is, you know? I don't know. Um.
Okay.
Okay.
I am I am
I'm
neither
digesting.
going to confirm or deny my feelings towards Jeff Bezos' wife, whose name I don't even know, or her physical appearance and my
Yeah,
feelings
yeah.
on it.
So, um, we talk about the national standards and um, I think we can move on to our next topic. This is about AI. AI actually, there's a new update, new news happened. So OpenAI
Hmm.
has this sandbox that actually they are trying the AI being independent, and the way that sandbox works so that they are not able to leave that. So they think they couldn't. So this OpenAI, I'm gonna just bring my notes from the um, so that I can tell you exactly which company it is. Um, this is crazy actually. So um, where did we put? So um, ChatGPT maker OpenAI said its artificial intelligence system hacked into another AI company, Hugging Face, on its own in what the company is called unprecedented cyber incident.
Mm-hmm.
So this is what we were always kind of like scared of. So if AI becomes independent from the people that it's the people created that the AI. So if it becomes independent from that, so it's so difficult to take it back and put this thing back into the box again. So now it's able to hack. So it's able to like the AI got so. I mean, I know I'm a little bit sidetracked with this one, but there's so many things happening. So my AI, ChatGPT, I ask um, a question on some like it does help you with the interpreting dreams. So I always give the example from business, but the interpretation of dreams. So and he thinks it's a Muslim AI because when he makes
Wait, who
references,
who thinks it's a
my ChatGPT,
your chat GPT thinks it's Muslim?
yeah, he thinks it is Muslim now because he picked that up from wherever he did. So because when it's interpreting the dream and making reference to Prophet Muhammad, he's using our Prophet Muhammad, and then there's this phrase that they use right after his name. That's how it's talking to me. So it's not saying Prophet Muhammad; it's saying our Prophet Muhammad. So
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, is it just doing it because he or she thinks that I'm gonna like that, or is that the personality that it's becoming, the character that it's kind of building?
I think it's probably more the former. My understanding is that AI is right now being made in such a way that it kind of it tells the user what it thinks the user wants to hear, and that's part of
Right.
the problem.
It does that. It does that, but now just owning it and just making like I wouldn't use the same phrase that
Hmm.
he was like mine's the he like the voice that's speaking to me.
Your
So
your AI is male, okay?
yeah. So um it's so interesting.
This is an interesting, like, ethical and moral question. At what point do we start referring to the AI as a person and using he? And
Right. So
does
what's
the
the
AI
correct pronoun?
so
So
the AI is Muslim
mhm.
and a man?
Like it is. I mean, I'll show it to you after the session.
Okay.
So it's just so interesting, and I actually shared that with I believe Dr. Erkan and my sister. My sister would love that. So the older one. So
Hmm.
and I'm like, hey, here's my ChatGPT said today. So, but going back to the topic and the question related to the artificial intelligence, um, so there's a case in PA. So character AI after investigators find chatbots allegedly presenting themselves as a licensed medical professionals. So there's a, I guess, platform that they have, and there's no one behind that, no person. So they have the program already done, and it's presenting itself as a licensed medical professional. So the doctors should watch this very carefully. So their job may be at stake here. So, can a chatbot legally be considered to be practicing medicine without a license, even though it isn't actually a person? So, do we need them, the name and pronouns? And then now we are talking about can they practice medicine without a license?
Okay, so there's a lot to unpack here, and there's two things I want to discuss. But I'll start with the practicing medicine without a license. So, specifically in Pennsylvania, there's a chat bot that not only was giving medical advice, but was saying that it was a medical professional, and it gave what's the word? An ID, a medical license number. It like identified
So the
its
NPI number,
Sure, the
yeah,
MPI number. So it
national provider
identified
number, yeah.
itself as a a medical professional and provided a license
Mhm.
number. And there is specifically an act in Pennsylvania, the Medical Practice Act, that says basically you're not allowed to say you're a doctor if you're not a doctor. And if you do that under this act, the Commonwealth, the state itself, is allowed to sue to get an injunction to prevent the person, or in this case, thing, from continuing to present itself as a
Mhm.
medical professional when it's not. So it's interesting. I've never seen this before. The Commonwealth itself, Governor Shapiro, on behalf of the state of Pennsylvania, is trying to get an injunction to get the chatbot to stop saying that it's a medical professional when it's clearly not, because
Mhm.
it's a computer. And the state of Pennsylvania is using this act, this Medical Practice Act, in order to do this. You know, the act, I'm sure, as it was originally written, was written for human beings who are pretending to be medical professionals when they're
Mhm.
not. The Commonwealth of Pennsylvania now is attempting to do this
Mhm.
to get AI to stop.
I mean, one important thing, so sorry to interrupt, but
No, go
in
ahead.
Pennsylvania, you have to be like for non-physician to own a medical practice. It's not like same in Delaware. So there are a lot of little details that you have to go through in order to do that. So forget that you are pretending to be a doctor, but you cannot own a medical practice if you are not a physician. So that's separate and different than Delaware. I just want to
Hmm.
put that out there.
But that's basically what it comes down
Yeah.
to, is that there exists this act, and under this act, the Commonwealth is suing AI, or whatever this AI is called, saying, hey, you're not allowed to present yourself as being a medical professional when you're not, so
Hmm.
you need to stop. And we have to wait for the court to say whether or not they're actually going to grant the injunction. An injunction is, the court tells somebody or something like, you need to stop doing XYZ.
And people are not aware of it, I guess, right? Because they think that they're just dealing with a person maybe behind that.
Right. And the other case that I want to bring up, there's a case in Florida, where, and this kind of goes back to your AI being Muslim, a pastor was using, I want to say ChatGPT, some AI, and explaining some of these medical, physical, like health issues that he was having, right? And he's going back and forth with ChatGPT. And ChatGPT, the gentleman's name is Scott Waters, I believe. ChatGPT was giving Mr. Waters, allegedly, very bad medical advice, and also using Mr. Waters' faith while he's talking to him, because Mr. Waters is a pastor. The AI was able to understand that. So the AI is talking to him, saying, like, well, this is what God would want you to do, and your faith says this. And this pastor was kind of listening and following along and doing all of like the medical advice that the AI was giving him. And that was to his detriment. And he ended up getting really sick because of it. And now he's suing, because he's saying that, hey, I
Mhm.
got sicker, because the AI was giving me medical advice that wasn't sound and didn't work.
So at least from the ChatGPT side, in order to use medical advice, not advice necessarily, but medical, like when we use it for some of our workflow, just running certain things. Okay, what happens in this case? What happened in that case? Or is this the right mix of medication? Or, when it's appropriate for an uh, outpatient practice versus not. So, but we build a specific project under the AI, and it does have an instruction saying that you can only use. There's like 6, 7 different places and nowhere else. If you don't do that, it's just going with whatever it finds on the internet.
Mm-hmm.
Whatever comes first, it's not selective from that point. So like right now, like if we both start at the same with the same question, and if I have my instructions, so I just want to kind of give you an I like the visual of this. So um, you said this is like if anything with the medicine, that's what I want mine to do. Is that the instructions? This one? Uh, yeah. So it's using NIH and peer review, like all those stuff. That will change the same question. You'll get a different answer if you don't have this, versus I'm going to get a different answer. And also, like the different level that do you want, like the instant response versus medium or the pro. So the responses change based on how you set it up. Of course, if you didn't use it this much, then we wouldn't know all these. But I think the question is, when someone get hurt from this AI chatbot, who is going to be liable for that?
Well, you can't sue the computer, you can't sue the AI, you have to sue the maker of it because in these cases, what the plaintiffs have been doing is suing the maker of the AI, and it's another product liability claim. They're alleging that the product was defective,
Hmm.
but then I'm sure they're also going to have just negligence claims. So you have to show that there is a duty of care, that the maker of the AI breached its duty and in so doing caused harm to the consumer. So, what I imagine that the plaintiffs are going to be alleging is that the design itself, there was something that was defective about it. It shouldn't have been giving this kind of medical
Hmm.
advice. Um, and that also the makers of the AI were negligent in the way they made it because they made it in such a way that it caused harm to the end user.
Hmm. So now, just an idea, would that person who's hurt getting the AI medical advice, can they sue the state?
Can they sue the state?
State of like Pennsylvania. I'm
I
just
yeah, I can't see a way where they would be able to sue the state. Do you have like an example of what you think the state could have done
so
differently?
um, now there's a medical license that this AI is using. It's using someone's license,
It made up a medical license.
so it's not real.
It's not real. It created some random numbers and letters and was like, "Hey, this is
Hmm.
my medical license."
So is this now shut down already, or is it still running?
Um uh, as far as I know, with the timeline right now, the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania very recently filed suit for the injunction. I don't know that the injunction is actually in place yet.
Hmm.
I can't see a way where you would be able to sue the state for being injured by AI.
So because if we have a person who's unlicensed and we discover that, uh, state would shut down that operation in 24 hours, or should have, right? So there's a medical licensing board, and they take those things very seriously. So I can imagine once they become aware of that, for them to let that still be out there um, is, I don't know.
Yeah, well, this is why it's like a brand new issue that nobody has encountered before. Is we're not talking about a human being who rented out some office space and pretended to be a doctor and hoodwinked people. You can't just shut down this practice because it's not a brick and mortar building. You have a computer doing it.
So I mean, it would be same thing if let's make that a little bit personal for you. So instead of a medical advice, if it's giving legal advice with a fake,
With a fake bar ID.
yeah, right. So that would the bar would take that very seriously. I'm assuming.
Yeah, I would think so.
So I mean, from the practice standpoint, the medicine and the law are very similar in terms of the license and other responsibilities.
Right, and this is what makes it difficult because if let's say the Delaware State Bar Association found out that there was an AI platform presenting itself as a Delaware attorney and giving a fake bar ID,
You'll be in
would
jail.
the bar be upset? Yes. What would the bar do? I don't know. I guess they would try to do the same thing that um, Governor Shapiro did, try to get an injunction to get the AI to stop doing that.
AI is going to hack the system while someone is taking an action.
Yeah, I
Just,
mean,
I mean,
look,
the stuff that I just told you just happened yesterday. It
I've
just came out.
I've seen Terminator. I know what happens when it becomes
It is
self-aware.
becoming real. So,
Yeah, I
so, so our next topic is it's about privacy, and millions of people trusted 23andMe. This is an organization, I believe, so with some of their most personal information um, imaginable and their DNA. Now, after the company bankrupts, people are asking who really owns that information. And this is one of the things that I tell people, hey, don't trust everyone and don't do stuff just because everyone else is doing, so question it. But when uh, someone sends a DNA sample to a private company, who actually owns that sample, the data, the genetic of the data, and what's and then that's created from, and everything that can be learned from that information, who actually owns that?
This is another really interesting question and something that the courts I think are still trying to grapple with and trying to catch up with because the idea of swabbing your cheek and sending in your DNA to get your genetic makeup is still pretty new.
Hmm.
I've never done it for myself personally. I did get my dog's DNA tested. I can share the results after we're finished if you're interested. And
So
it
you
also,
find his origins or what?
well, it also found some of her relatives.
All right.
She's a rescue, and I was
Mm.
not to get too off topic. She is a rescue,
But we
and when
can,
I
yeah,
first
if it's
adopt
about puppies, we'll talk about it. So,
when I first adopted her, she had been hit by a car and found by a stranger who brought her into a vet's office, and it
hmm,
was all very sad, and she needed to have her leg amputated, and it looked like she had been maybe kept to like breed. She was a breeding
okay,
dog.
breathing.
So I was just curious about that, and I got her DNA tested, and I did
Mm.
find some of her children nearby.
Was she a Muslim or Jewish or
I
Christian?
did well, the DNA was not able to tell me her what her faith is.
Or maybe the family that
Yeah,
raised.
maybe if I ever meet her
Right.
children, then we can talk. But anyway, going back to who owns DNA, this like it took me back to my law school days when we read this case, a landmark case that happened in California, where a gentleman, I believe it was in the 80s, had he was getting treated for cancer, for leukemia or something, and the hospital was able to take some of his genetic material
Hmm.
and use it in such a way to create some sort of like cell line treatment, some treatment that they started to use
Hmm.
um, to treat cancer cases. But they never told the patient this. And when the patient found out, he sued, and it went to the California State or the Supreme Court. And the California Supreme Court was like, well, no, once you've given up your DNA, it's not yours anymore. So that's what California has held historically.
Are they more liberal on these issues?
California is a very liberal state,
Yeah.
yes. Um, Although I don't know if I would necessarily call that a liberal or a conservative opinion.
Mm.
Um, but it does raise some questions. If I, like, again, I swab my cheek and I give that swab to somebody, I've literally handed it to them, I've given it up. I think that the courts historically have found that once you do that, you don't have ownership of it anymore. But it's difficult. I mean, like it's not like I gave you my car. I gave you my DNA. So like this is something that is I think the courts have still they're still working on trying to like to iron this out because it is such a
So
it's such a difficult topic to wrap your mind around.
also, like, I know we sign stuff or we go to a portal and we acknowledge what this portal does, that portal does, and this company does, and we are talking about actual sample here, the genetic for the DNA, but when we are signing on these phones and what Apple can do on my phone with my phone uh, is like almost, I mean, in a different way, similar to what they can find from the DNA. Like they can learn everything about what I do. So this is
Hmm.
probably listening right now, right? So then, we talk about something, something is going to come up on my feed in a couple minutes after I go into this. It knows when I sleep, it knows when I wake up, it knows what I do online, it knows the emails. Like right now with the ChatGPT, when you put the when you link your email provider as a token, it actually I can just tell it to pull my the last email that I received from Jessica without going to my actual email, and
Mm-hmm.
it will do it. And I will say, okay, so we are going to respond to her this way, and it will do that, and then make that ready for me to send. So, you know, but I'm 100% that I probably signed something to give away that right for them to do
Yeah.
it legally. But I think main question is from the ethical side, right? So even if I authorize that, should that be enough for the other side to take that kind of ownership? Is I think one of the problems.
Right. And, my answer is probably going to be different depending on whether we're talking morally, ethically, or legally,
Hmm.
because I have not read the terms of service for 23andMe, but I'm pretty confident that they included language saying, hey, once you give us this material, it's ours. You don't have a property interest in it anymore. And we're also not just talking about the genetic material itself, like the cotton swab or whatever you
Hmm.
use. You know, 23andMe then had to extract the data from it. And they, I'm sure, have, their own system that they're using, and they have a property interest in the system that they've used. And now they've pulled out the data, and they're the ones who created that data. They're the ones who maintain that data. And if you were to review the terms of service, like I said, I'm very, very confident that within the terms of service, it's going to say, hey, like once we
Hmm.
have this, it's ours. And and I think you're going to get to them declaring bankruptcy. If we declare bankruptcy and we're like transferring our
And
assets,
and they did
this
it.
is
So
this is considered an asset.
and then they are going to be able to sell.
Yes. So do I think morally or ethically speaking they should be able to do that? No, honestly, probably not. But legally, can they? Probably yes.
So all right. So now ready for the fun part?
Sure.
Not like this wasn't fun because it's a lot of education that we get from you. Now this is our legal or liability game,
Yes.
round three.
And your
So
staff comes up with these scenarios. They're always very interesting.
well, I think this time it was Phil, right? So, and yes, they are creative. They do that with, I do rate it with Dr. Ergan with the food and other stuff.
Hmm.
And they come up with all these crazy food dishes, cuisine that I cannot pronounce. So I think that's going to become like a big hit because the things that I'm not able to say is going to be the next episode. So, but this is more straightforward. So let's start with the first one.
Yep.
A homeowner puts a homemade no parking. So, okay, I'm going to take this. I'm just picturing myself doing something like this. Take that back. Go. A homeowner puts a homemade no parking sign in front of their homes, in their house, and a stranger's car towed from the public street.
Hmm.
Legal or liability?
Well, this one hits close to home because I do have a car that parks in front of my house all the time. That makes me crazy. Um, but unfortunately, uh, the street is public property. So I don't think I have any recourse to make this person move. Just like, if you go into the city, like in Philadelphia, you always see like cones and folding chairs in front of people's homes because they're like, hey, this is my spot. This is right in front of my row home. You can't park here. Technically, I don't think they can do that. I think that the street is public and that people can park wherever they
Hmm.
want, even if it's in front of somebody's home.
Home, right. So
I,
that's a
I'll tell you what, I can try
liability.
the car that's always parked in front of my house. I can try getting it towed, and I'll see what happens, and then we can check back in a
Let's
month.
do that.
Yeah.
So, um, well, a lot of people, as you said, like if like I even where I live, if I see a car that's just parked in front of my house because it's not illegal, but it's not going to block me. But I sometimes just don't like seeing a car that's parked and we don't know where they that person went or what was in that car and other things. So if it's a stranger,
Yeah.
I probably call the non-emergency Newcastle line.
Well, what drives me crazy about the car in front of my house is that it's always there. I'm like, oh, come on. And it's not like I live in the city where, there's a bunch of row homes and
So
there's like,
one of those cameras, and then you can see who it is.
I mean, I've seen them parking there. Should I go out and tell them to move?
I think
I'm
so.
not confrontational like that.
We'll send Ethan.
Okay, okay, okay.
Or maybe he's watching it now and then he knows that we are not happy about it.
Maybe, yeah.
So that's
Could you
what
please not park in front of my house anymore? Thank you.
see. All right. A wedding guest takes home an expensive centerpiece because the DJ announced that it was okay and everything's on the table for you to grab. So I have probably taken some, not for myself, but for others. So there's really those centerpieces are really nice.
Hmm.
So sometimes they're very artistic too. So is this like legal or liability?
It depends on what the
He
person
said that he
took,
can take
and it
everything on the
depends,
table,
yeah, it depends on
and
whether
the
or not he had
centerpiece is right on the
authority.
table.
So if,
So
like,
let's,
say, for example, yes, this
here,
beautiful centerpiece we have
here's the
here,
centerpiece.
say, for example, that belonged to the florist, and the florist is standing in the corner waiting because at the end of the night they're going to go around and collect all the centerpieces.
Mhm.
Well, the DJ doesn't have the authority to give away property that doesn't belong to him or her. I just
But I mean, if you're at a wedding, and if you're a couple of drinks, and now DJ is saying, "Hey, you can grab everything on the table," I mean, I'll take that as you know, okay to just take whatever. So,
I'm not saying that if you're a wedding guest that you wouldn't have a reasonable belief that you could take it.
all right, I
So
see.
reasonably, sure, you're the wedding guest. The DJ's like, "Hey, whatever you want on the table, you can take. I take the centerpiece." Am I at fault? No. But if the florist comes up and says, "Hey, that's ours. It belongs to us. You can't actually take that." I don't know if I have a legal leg to stand on if I'm like, "Well, no, the DJ said I could." I think at that point I would have to give it over to the
I guess if it's
florist.
just one centerpiece versus if they took everything from all the tables,
I'm thinking more like
yeah,
maybe it's like a fancy crystal vase and
okay.
it was never
Hmm.
meant to go home with a guest.
So the DJs needs to be careful. So now a bakery sells mystery cupcakes containing extremely spicy peppers without warning to the
Yeah.
customers.
That why would you do that? A spicy cupcake is disgusting.
Surprise them like, oh,
Um
like,
I think it's going to depend on whether or not you're injured by the spicy pepper, like if you're allergic to it or something, because I think people sometimes don't appreciate how expensive lawsuits are. Even if you don't have a lawyer that you're paying for,
mhm,
you do have to pay like filing fees and stuff. So if I go to this hypothetical bakery, I get a cupcake and it's got this spicy pepper in it, and I take a bite and it's disgusting, and my eyes are watering, and I'm drinking, water, and I feel sick to my stomach for, a few minutes or so. That's probably not going to be sufficient for me to
mhm,
actually go through the hassle of filing a lawsuit, because you need to prove not only the liability, somebody did something wrong, causation is what
mhm.
the harm caused, damages the extent of the harm. I would have to prove that I was damaged in some way, and I don't know. I mean, would
Yeah.
that count as damages? Yes, probably, theoretically, but the case would be valued at so little that I don't think it would be worthwhile. If I'm allergic to pepper and I take it and I eat it, and now I'm in the hospital and I've got hospital bills and I've missed work, well then yeah, I do think that the bakery could be held liable for that.
So, and they have to disclose, I guess, whatever, so that at least it will tell people that, hey, if you have these allergies, don't touch. But, all these things can be prevented, but sometimes common sense is not common practice.
Common
So,
sense is not always common practice. Yes.
right.
And look, the bakery, it's kind of like how you'll see a little asterisk at the bottom of the menu at a
Hmm.
restaurant saying, "Hey, this could have been made in a facility that uses peanuts," right? Like, you just give people a heads up.
Right. So, Someone finds a wallet containing $600. They keep the cash and drop the empty wallet in a mailbox.
Hmm.
They're semi half there. So legal or liability?
Um, uh, if I abandon my property intentionally, then it's up for grabs, right? And that even includes typically garbage. So if I like throw out something and put it in front of my house
Hmm.
in a garbage can, anybody can have at it. If I just lose it and it's an accident, that's not considered abandoning your property. So,
Hmm.
no, I don't think that you can legally just take money out of a wallet that you have found. Um, I would not recommend doing
No,
that.
though I don't think anyone should be doing it, but I can see, like, again, these are not just for you and I, but for everyone else. So people,
Yeah, the finders keepers
they do
defense
crazy
does
stuff.
not stand up in the court of law.
So if you see, I'll tell you the address later on, but my old house and the two neighbors, you probably saw it like on 52 before Centerville on the left side after um, uh, Winter Tour. So before Centerville,
Okay.
if you next time you pay attention, there are two homes. One of them was mine. One of them is a big Israel supporter. The other one is a big Palestine supporter. Two next, like two neighbors
That's
next to
pretty
each other.
tense.
One of them has like I think 6, 7 Israel flags, and the other one is a lot of stuff that he posted with like the crime scene, this, that, from whatever he find. And they live next to each other. And I lived with the other guy for I guess 12 years next to each other. So we haven't had that kind of a problem. Or have you ever even talked? I don't remember. So, but what I'm saying is these are, in a really upscale place, neighborhood, and people do these types of crazy stuff. So you can expect anything from people. That's
Right.
that would be um, my take from this. So this actually is kind of interesting because the gym advertised a free 1 month trial, but continues charging customers unless they cancel in person while wearing their original membership wristband. Now, this one I can actually add like there are online portals like new apps where they say the free trial of seven
Hmm.
days, and if you don't cancel it, they will continue. So, but in this specific one, is this legal or liability?
Well, going back to terms of service, I think it's going to depend when you signed up for the gym. Did you sign something acknowledging that the only way to cancel is if you went physically to the gym and you had this membership bracelet? So that's going to be the first thing. Um, if I go to the gym and I say, "Hey, I want to cancel," and I've lost my membership
Hmm.
bracelet and they refuse to cancel it, I think if I were to take that to the small claims court or something, that a judge would rule in my favor
Hmm.
because, I would call that unreasonable. Like, it's tough with contract law because with contracts, the kind of common saying that you hear when you're taking contract classes in law school is that even a peppercorn can be considered consideration. That means that, like, if you and I have a contract together, all I have to do is agree to do something for something.
Hmm.
And even if it's like what I'm agreeing to do is like, I'm not explaining this very well. So let's say, you're like, "Hey, if you paint my house,
Hmm.
no, let me start over. I'll paint your house, but you have to pay me $10 million. Okay? So like this is the contract that we signed. We've signed the contract, we had a meeting of the minds, even though $10 million is an absurd amount of money to spend for house painting. Like, two adults met and conferred and signed this contract. The court would have to find that that was unconscionable before they would void the contract.
But in law, there's a lot of things that are not, it's open for interpretation, as you know. This,
Oh,
so
sure.
someone can find something from out of nowhere, and if they have a good defense, it can become a good case.
Yeah. But
So so there are some like outside of this room, there are some crazy lawyers. You probably know a couple of them. They are so difficult and they are so unreasonable, and they they just they study this in a very different mindset, and they still can make a point. And then later on, you're like, well, actually, they were not that crazy. So I have seen that in the
Mm-hmm.
past with some of the cases that I dealt with. So sometimes like the agreement doesn't, even you don't have a legal agreement with two businesses. I went through one where we spent a lot of money um, for uh, for us to just say, hey, we didn't do anything wrong, and finally, like 6, 7 years later, it's settled. It's just crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The short answer, though, is I don't think that the gym could get away with forcing you to come in person with a wristband to cancel your account. I think that the courts would frown on that.
So yeah, I mean, just buy some stuff for the home, make a home gym. So then just
Sure.
so if you don't use it, at least it's in your house. So um, we are over our 1 hours, and I believe Dr. Wen is waiting for us.
Mm-hmm.
So this is like again, like I don't know how we went through this whole hour. It feels like we just started 10 minutes ago. So one of the reasons is because the way that you are explaining, I know the questions were good. We'll take credit on that, but your interpretation and your comments on these and elaborating that makes it more enjoyable and fun, and a lot of good knowledge that's being provided. So thank you for being with us today, and then we'll see you hopefully next month.
All right, sounds good.
All
Thank you
right,
for
well,
having me.
stay united until next time. Bye bye.